Hey guys, welcome back for another video. It has been a long time since we've had a discussion type video on the channel, and over the last 8 years in the automotive industry as an automotive technician, mechanic, whatever you want to call us, you see a lot of crazy stuff. You see a lot of really crazy stuff, and I know I'm not the only mechanic out there that does this. I end up saving things, whether it's old ROs or receipts or broken parts, all these little trinkets. I just kind of, if they have an awesome story behind them, I seem to hang on to them. A lot of times I don't even tell the story. It's just for my own benefit. You know, I'll be working in the shop and I'll see one of these things on the toolbox and it'll either be usually one of two things. I'll be like, thank God that car's out of here, or I'll laugh and think of something funny or ridiculous that came through the door. I didn't grab all of my stuff. We would be here all day, but I grabbed a few items and we'll see how you guys like this. If this takes off and you guys like seeing all this kind of stuff and hearing these stories, maybe we'll do one a month or something. I'm not really sure, but that's what I wanted to bring to you today. Whether it's parts or tools I've had to make or old ROs, I just wanted to talk about this stuff. So let's get into the video. Alright, so the very first thing I wanted to start off this list with, I really need to get this in a frame. This is a piece of paper that was in my Mazda B2000 when I bought it, and if I open it up here, this is the original window sticker from 1987. So if I flip this around, you can look on here and it says 22 miles a gallon in the city on average, 27 on the highway. You know, it goes through class of vehicle, all that stuff. My favorite thing about this is it shows all these additional things that were factory upgrades, and it lists things like AM FM radio, mud flaps, floor mats, a truck bed liner, and a rear sliding window. But the most interesting thing on here, and in 2022 is really hard to actually believe that this was a thing, but the original cost for this pickup out the door was $9,085. Check it out. $9,000, a brand new pickup for under 10 grand. Granted, it wasn't much of a pickup, you know, but I love my Mazda. So like I said, I need to get this thing framed and hang it up in the office somewhere. So that's the first thing I've hung on to. Let's get into more parts and tools, that kind of thing. Boy, oh boy, am I glad this is over. So this is a head gasket off a 2GR FE that I had to rebuild in my time as a Toyota technician at the dealership. So long story short, I believe this was a 2016 Sienna. Anyway, the lady comes in at the end of the day on a Saturday with her van and she says, you know, it seems like it's overheating, blah blah blah, this that the other thing. So I couldn't really find any leaks or anything like that. The oil looked okay, so we ended up bleeding the coolant. There was some air in there, and she was also complaining about poor heat. So I kind of looked at it visually. There weren't any leaks or anything like that. Pressure tested the system, the whole 9 yards. Again, this is at the end of the day on Saturday. I end up coming back to it Monday, checking a few other things. Oil was okay. It turns out that this car had a leaking head gasket. So I'm doing a little digging on this car, and there's an aftermarket front bumper. One of the headlights is aftermarket thermostat, aftermarket radiator. So I'm kind of starting to think, and you know, my gears are starting to turn, and I get told I'm going to fix this thing under factory warranty. What? So anyway, I go back and forth with Toyota about this, and they end up goodwilling this under warranty. Turns out that the lady hit a deer and then drove 40 miles home with the radiator smashed out of it. But the kicker here was that was 15,000 miles ago. So she drives it home, overheating the whole 40 miles, gets it towed somewhere. They put in a new radiator, a new condenser, front bumper, all of this stuff gets replaced, and she's driving it. And the whole reason I ended up having to do this under warranty was because they said, oh, after 15,000 miles, there's absolutely no way that could have caused it. Absolutely it could. You tweak a head, these are all aluminum blocks, all aluminum heads. You tweak something on these motors and then you're driving it, heating and cooling cycles. I didn't buy it at all. I thought it was complete bullshit, and I thought there's no way in hell I should have to be doing this repair under factory warranty. My dealership did end up taking care of me and I got some extra money out of it, but the block was warped, the heads were warped. They gave me a short block and then bare cylinder head. So I had to swap the valve train, the cams, all of that kind of stuff over onto this new motor and put this thing back together. And the customer didn't have to pay for anything. Not to mention, there was spoiled milk in the back of the car, pumpkins rolling around. It was just that was a complete disaster. I actually unbolted that from one of my work cabinets because that's where it resides now. But really the times that I look at this thing is when I'm struggling in the shop. If I have a repair that's not going well, something like that, I'm like, you know what? At least it can't be worse than that. Next up, I got an RO for you. Now this still has the customer's information on it, so I'm not going to show you this obviously. But this came in, it was an alignment check, multi-point inspection, rotate tires, and 15,000 mile service. So a bunch of maintenance and factory warranty stuff. This was again when I was still at the Toyota dealership, and let's see here. Customer comments. Customer states that it feels like a hesitation when taking off in the first 15 minutes, and then after warm-up it seems better. Feels like a cough. Not sure if he hears any noises. Seems to happen randomly, not every day. Feels like there is resistance when accelerating, primarily from a stop, or when slowing way down and accelerating again. Okay, so that's the original concern. I go and drive the vehicle, and again, you guys got to remember, this is a 2018, and let's see here. This happened in 2019. So this car isn't even a year old at this point in time. And when these kind of things come into the dealership, you don't get paid to look at them if there's not a real problem. So anyway, I go out and test drive this thing. I scan it and I type back. I said, test drove the customer, could not duplicate concern. No code, scan system with Toyota scan tool. Normal operation at this time. Car goes away. Then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This car just keeps coming back, and there's never a problem. So as this is happening, eventually it goes to another mechanic in the shop, and they say the exact same thing. And the last little bit here is actually an email. So this was an email to my boss, and it says, my wife and I are leaving tomorrow, Tuesday, October 2nd, in the afternoon for a 12-day bus tour of New England states. I haven't heard from you in a while about the Kansas City engineer from Toyota coming to your dealership, but I guess I could leave my Highlander until I return. I continue to have acceleration problems, as I did last night driving in the rain. Maybe it's my carburetor that's getting plugged up, and maybe that needs to be done and the Kansas City guy could look at it. You got a 2018 Highlander. There is no carburetor, I'm sorry. I don't expect everyone to know everything about their cars, but don't try to make a problem when there isn't one. And the carburetor thing I just thought was really hilarious. This water pump, nothing too crazy about this. I'll keep this one nice and short. This was my very first customer when I went out on my own. I believe this was on a Chevy Impala, like a mid-90s Chevy Impala, and there wasn't really anything funny about this other than when it came in, you could hear the typical water pump noise, and it was visually leaking coolant on my garage floor. And apparently she had it at another shop and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. So that was kind of odd, but I just keep this around because very first customer I ever had. This one should be nothing new. This is that Volkswagen that took 2 days to get the wheels off. 2 half-inch breaker bars were sacrificed in the removal of this keyed lug nut. You can see I tried to cut my socket off after it got stuck. What happened was the customer never had a wheel lock key, and there's a ring around the rest of this lug stud. So when I pounded this socket on, the ring broke free, so the socket would spin, but I still couldn't get this out. So I ended up having to weld inside the socket. I don't know how well you can see a little of the bead in there. I had to weld onto this. I had to do this to get both the front wheels off, and it ended up taking me 2 days to do that. Last one on my list for today is going to be this Tacoma. You can see this is a wiring schematic. So if I flip back here, again, not to show you the customer's name, but we ordered an engine harness, an instrument cluster harness, the floor harness, the frame harness, 2 more additional accessory engine harnesses, and then every single door harness. So you can see this schematic here, this one here, and my favorite, the dash harness. So anyway, this customer comes in with a 2015 Tacoma that he had a windshield put in. Simple enough, right? Rock hit his windshield, had it replaced. Well, turns out that water leaked through that new windshield down and shorted out the main junction block for all the ECUs and all of the computers in the vehicle. So this didn't even cover the computers. This was just the harnesses, and I saved it because it's a good visual. But all the door cards had to come out, the headliner had to come out, all the seats, the dash, the frame of the dash. Did I say the headliner? All the carpet, basically this entire truck, aside from the metal body, the frame, the engine, and the drivetrain, all of the interior components had to come out of this truck, and we had to replace every single wire harness. Now the total cost to replace just the harnesses, not even the ECUs, was $5,700. So all of this happened, this car gets towed in, and initially it was just dead. So I got it and I said, yeah, I can slam a battery in it. Came in on the tow truck, put the battery in. I went to drive it around the block, and the gas gauge said it had 1/4 of a tank. Then it had a full tank. Then it was 0 miles to empty. Then the tire pressures were at 35 psi. Then they were at 120. Then just all of this weird stuff started happening with this pickup. And eventually, you know, I'm going through and none of it makes sense. It's all super intermittent and random. And I peel back the carpet in the corner, and where the main junction block for all the harnesses and ECUs is covered in blue washer fluid crust. Bingo. That one super proud mechanic moment, it actually left. It left and it never came back, which was really super awesome because I had to spend a few whole days on this thing swapping harnesses over. Like I said, we almost had $6,000 just into wire harnesses on this Tacoma, all because a windshield leaked. Alright guys, so that is what I had for you for this discussion video. What do you think about this kind of thing? Is this something you want to see more of in the future? Is this a good topic for discussion that you guys enjoy? If it is, I like sharing this stuff, so I definitely have a lot more items that I could show you and a lot more stories of stuff that gets way crazier than this. So if you enjoyed today's video, drop me a comment down below, like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. That really helps me out. Thanks for watching guys, and we'll see you next time.